zone to actually call in on emergencies. So Andy, my equestrian vet, he took over. He does farm animals as well. So between the two of them, we pretty much sort everything out. I mean, Andre's been fantastic since he moved to Cambridge. We had one of the cows, Jonathan, he broke his leg, and he went to Cambridge Veterinary Hospital. They'd never had a cow with a broken leg up there before. He was in plaster for 6 weeks. They looked after him amazingly well, and now Jonathan's back here and all safe and sound with the rest of his family. So we bond well with our vets because they understand what we do.
Absolutely,
some vets just do not get the concept of
exactly
rescue.
right. That's what I also think. You have to have like that kind of connection, or even like I sometimes feel like I have a little doggy. He's here now with me as well, listening to you. And you can tell that people, even some vets, don't even like, oh, so your dog is vegan, and they kind of have an opinion on that, So it's good that you have someone who really gets what you're doing, because it's so important for the animals.
You couldn't operate if you didn't. The only thing I will say is that with farm animals, which is the cattle and the sheep and the pigs, people come and they say, oh, it's wonderful that they're safe now from harm. And I say to them very carefully, they're not actually safe from harm, because if there is a national outbreak of something, they revert back to the national herd or the national flock, and they come under the jurisdiction of DEFRA, the Department of Environmental and Rural Affairs, and they can be seized. They can be taken from you. You can't stop people coming in, and if one farm down the road gets an outbreak, then it's tough love for your animals. So
they will come and get
they're
them.
They're never entirely safe. You're always living in fear of turning the news on and finding there's been an outbreak of swine flu or foot and mouth. You think, oh my God, how near is it? Going on lockdown. We had foot and mouth in our area nearly 20 years ago, and it was 2 years of a living hell almost, literally foot bathing when you left the property, when you came on property. I was in the fire brigade, and we went to farms, and it was just awful, like having to kind of antibacterial all the vehicles, and you're constantly frightened that your animals you might protect, but if the person down the road doesn't. And there were a lot of people that were doing very, very kind of dodgy things, like looking for compensation and inviting disease onto their farm. So it was pretty horrible time. So you always got that in your back of your mind. And
of course,
some people say to me, I'd love to run a sanctuary. How do I do it, Fiona? And I say, I don't want to run a sanctuary. I don't want there to be a need for sanctuaries.
No,
it's not, because if you run a sanctuary, you're running it as a place of safety, where there's the majority are in a place of harm. That place harm to be gone.
Exactly. That's where the real sin is happening. That's what we're fighting. And another really exciting thing I thought was so cool, Keegan told me already before we saw your movie and everything, is that it's your own shoes, the Fiona Oakes runners. Okay, so I saw on this website that they were made basically for you, right? And it's the world's first carbon neutral, ethically made, internationally vegan trail shoe ever for elite running. So
I mean, it was really exciting. Obviously, I had the problem with my shoes, the shoe malfunction in the race. It was actually really, really difficult, because I was going pretty well in the race, and then Keegan came to me. I don't know what happened. The race, the MDS always runs the same format: 3 kind of shorter stages, then the long stage, then there's a marathon stage. And anyway, so after the first 3 stages, I was doing pretty well. I'd been really poorly before the race. We'd been hand rearing 36k lambs, and Brian had died that night before I actually went to Morocco. He died in my arms in bed in the early hours of the morning, and that's the little lamb. And I didn't want to go, and I felt awful, and I'd been on medication all week. And Keegan said, just come to Morocco, we'll get some shots of you, then you can go home if necessary. But I was running pretty well. And after the 3rd stage, we had a terrible sandstorm, and I was in my bed, and in my bunk, or whatever you want to call it, but I was laying on a piece of carpet in a sleeping bag. That's what I'm going to say. And I thought I better check all my gear, and I turned my running shoes over, and I looked, and there was absolutely hardly anything left of them. I don't know what made me do it. And then Keegan came to the tent on the morning of the long stage and he said, "Are you all fired up and ready to hit this hard?" And I said, "Not really. My shoes are falling to pieces." And he went, "Oh no!" And it said, "Well, actually, it's good for the cinema thing. You know, it makes." I think, "Oh, well, it's all right." Then, you know, I'll just trudge about with a load of gaffer tape on my feet, like, it's good cinematography.
Yeah, exactly.
And so after that, Will contacted me from Will's Vegan Shoes and said, "I'd like to make you a pair of shoes that don't fall to pieces." And that's when the vegan shoes came about. And I did actually wear them in the Atacama Crossing. Cool. And I won a stage of that, won my race category. And mine were pretty much the only shoes that didn't fall to pieces in that race. A lot of the bigger brands, you know, they took a battering because it's a very, very tough race underfoot. And mine were fine. In fact, I was actually thinking about wearing them again for MDS this year, but I thought, no, I better not chance it. I better just get a new pair of shoes. So I have done. I've got another pair stitched.
Yeah, that's so cool. That's so cool. Yeah, and people can see that also. Because you have, like, that's another question I wanted to ask you. So you have the Sanctuary website, but then there's also Fiona Oakes Foundation. Like, are they connected, or is that two separate things for you, or?
Pretty much everything I do is connected. Yeah. People say, "Oh, you know, how can I contact you?" It's just me sitting at a computer, whether I'm answering the Fiona Oakes page or the Tower Hill page. It's just me, you know. It's not like some great operation of, you know, in-trade that to the Fiona Oakes Foundation. It's just basically me. Mm-hmm. The foundation was set up just for promoting veganism if I can, you know, helping, you know, a couple of little scholarships that I did to help younger people. There was a vegan camp out and for younger people where kids could go to be together with other vegan kids. So with my shoes, Keegan said that the bad luck I'd had with my shoes just made for good cinematography, and so I should just get on with it and just crack on through the long stage with these shoes that were falling to pieces. We actually weighed the gaffer tape that I'd had on those shoes, and it was actually nearly a kilo between both feet. I was wading through the sand with his gaffer tape. Anyway, I got through it, but that's when Will decided that he wanted to, if ever I decided to go off and do one of these ridiculous races again, he wanted me to go at least with a pair of shoes that weren't going to fall to pieces. So he designed the Will's Vegan Shoe, the carbon neutral Fiona Oakes trail shoe.
So great.
I wore them in the Atacama Crossing, and I won my stage out there and won my category. So I was really, really pleased with them. And a lot of the other runners, their shoes fell to pieces. That was bad karma because I knew what it was like. But I was kind of sitting there saying, look at mine, mine are fine. So I was actually going to wear them again in Marathon des Sables this year, but I thought, no, better not tempt fate. Better just, you know, get a new pair stitched. So I'm all ready to go with a new pair.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's also, again, like I was reading, like a percentage of that goes directly to the Sanctuary as well, right? Sold from the shoes.
Yeah. Will donates 10% of the shoe sales to
good on you, Will.
Which is a great help.
Thank you, Will. Thank you, Will. Good on him. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. That's a really good thing and I think like more and more, because it's also something like you are part of a series also that I'm doing, because I'm also talking to some other vegan athletes, and I think it's more and more happening now where people are like plant-based, you know, athletes who also need good gear, and it should also be vegan. So I think
people are actually taking the message further than the diet now, and they're actually thinking about where things are sourced.
Yeah,
you know, I think that's very, very important. When you talk about ethics, you talk about obviously the ethics behind animal agriculture, but it's, you know, it's not just animals that have been exploited on this planet. It's human beings too. Yeah, and I think we need to consider that also. And I think people are taking the message on more, not just about what you put in your mouth, but everything, all your actions, and I think that is massively important.
No, definitely, because I also think that there's such a big difference also between saying like, hey, I'm on a vegan diet, or I'm actually vegan. And I think when ahimsa is like a way of living, it's important that that you take it in with everything you do. You know, I think that's a really important thing. And do you have, like, besides the animals that you do everything for, do you have like someone, like a hero that really inspires you, or that you look up to for you in your life?
Yeah, I mean, on a daily basis, I mean, obviously got my heroes in sport. One of my heroes was Haile Gebrselassie in running, purely because he was kind of an ambassador for not just running. I was very, very lucky that I spent time with him, a lot of time with him, before in 2005 when he was trying to break the world record, and I was out in the Amsterdam Marathon on the elite start. And he hadn't got to move up from the 10,000 metre to the marathon. And I kind of said, why do you do it? And he said, because there's 10,000 people in Ethiopia depending on me and the income and the notoriety my marathon running brings to the country for their livelihoods. And he said that gives me that little bit of extra desire to want to be out there. And to, honestly, I admire Keegan. I really do admire Keegan because he's such a nice guy, and we were very, very connected in terms of the way we think. There's no show. Keegan is a real deep guy. He really believes in what he's doing. And I think, the first time when I saw Cowspiracy, that's how I actually kind of got in touch with Keegan. He put out an email saying, I really need help, guys, to make this film happen. Not to myself, it just went round, he wanted financial help, support. Yeah. And we got no money, but I just broke the world records. And I just thought, perhaps if I can do anything, like to promote what he's doing. And that's how we got in touch. And apparently Keegan looked at what I'd done and he thought, kind of I should be kind of helping you, not you helping me. And that's when he got some downtime, he decided he wanted to make running for good. Yeah. But I really respect Keegan because he's a kind of a shining beacon in a world of, he really puts it out there to get the message out there. And Cowspiracy, was a pretty innovative and brave film, and what the health too. And I really admire him because he, for people who have, when I was in MDS, funnily enough, in 2017, a lot of my tent mates, they weren't vegan. Well, none of them were vegan, but a couple had seen Cowspiracy and What the Health, because it's a big film, and people were talking about it, and it got people talking about issues that would normally be taboo. And for me, he's got my respect for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do also really think, because Keegan is of course known for movies like Cowspiracy and What the Health, which is him making the movies with Kip Anderson. But what I felt so amazing, and I really think that the best movie he's done is Running for Good, because it is really his solo project, and it's so obvious that you guys make a good team. And I was extremely proud because he was with me, because I live in Portugal, and he was here for the What the Health premiere here, and then he was mentioning, I'm doing this thing with this vegan runner, and I was like, who is this person? Like, she's a woman? I want to know everything, like I was like already a fan of you before even seeing the movie, and then I saw the movie and I was just in awe of it. Like, it's such a great movie. And because I'm also really I also do a lot of things where, I've been around men where men are always getting the credits, but then, already that makes me so happy, and then you're doing it for the animals, and that's exactly what I do too. And it's just so inspiring to watch you, and everybody who hasn't seen this movie, you have to see it. It's a must.
Yeah, so. I think Keegan was a little bit disappointed that some of the major distributors weren't interested in Running for Good, and I think it's the message that they don't like. I was put out of another film, and I was kind of filmed for that other film twice, and cut ruthlessly. I still don't. I've not even been nailed with an answer as to why I was cut. But for the fact that people say it's the message is too true, not showy, and of course male orientated. People don't generally want to know about strong women.
No, exactly.
Don't want that message out there. They feel a little bit intimidated by it, and because I will say this, I haven't had one negative comment written to me about Running for Good. It's all been positive.
Yeah.
People have seen it and really got it. They've really got it. It's about doing. It's not necessarily about running. It's about doing good for others. Just following a belief, mind over matter. And if you believe in something, you know it to be right. The lengths that you can go to and push yourself to. And I kind of say, I'm not selfish enough to want to do the running for myself, but I'm kind of selfless enough to want to push myself that bit harder for others. I think that most people are like that, are they? I don't know. I don't value myself that highly. I'm just one individual. And each animal I fight for is just another